This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Welcome to your weekly dose of the Accountology Show. I'm your host and chartered accountant, Nicole Haig, with an insatiable curiosity for uncovering accounting ideas to help businesses grow. I have so many nuggets of gold to share. Are you ready to make your good business great? Let's get stuck right in. Hey, it's your host, Nicole Haig.
And Alex Fulton.
And welcome to another exciting episode of the Accountology Show.
I never know. I really like the hey. Did you purposely do that? Like hey, Haig?
Everybody should do that. Hey.
Well, no,
Haig.
don't say hey, Haig. But I just thought that was how you came up with it. And I was thinking, what could mine be? Yo. No. Let's just keep it at Alex. Yeah.
Are you a business owner struggling with profit, cash flow, or to find balance between work and life? At Nicole Haig & Associates, we want to help business owners just like you reclaim your freedom. Freedom to spend quality time with loved ones, freedom from stress, and freedom from financial burdens. But how do we do it? It's simple. We listen, we understand, and we create bespoke, structured programs tailored to your unique business and personal goals. With the right education, coaching, and expert advice, we'll show you how to increase profits, improve cash flow, and align your business and personal goals. Don't do it alone. Let NH plus A be your guide to success. Work smarter, not harder, with our proven accountability methods. Your freedom starts here. Contact us today. Okay, so last week,
yes,
we had an amazing session or interview with our lovely guest, Premilla.
Yes, so Premilla was a really interesting one. Like, to be honest, I have heard of business broking, but I hadn't really connected the fact that you'd sell a business through harcourts. Like, that kind of connection surprised me.
I know, and I agree with you on that one, because I think that you think of if you were going to sell a business, you might go to like ABC or a business
I wouldn't
brokering.
even know how to sell a business.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah.
So to think that you would go to a real estate agent to sell your business.
Yeah, maybe if I owned the building, I'd go to a real estate agent.
Yeah.
But I really didn't know about that connection. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And I think how she said that you do your real estate papers and then you can...
That's all you need.
Yeah.
I thought you would have needed to do like finance degree.
I'm sure there must be a bit more behind it as well. In terms...
I think that would benefit you because from what Premilla said, her background is in finance, right? Was it corporate finance?
Yes, and also banking.
Banking, that's right. Something, again, I'm not too au fait with, but I can... It all made sense, like, from what she was saying, because she was saying she does sell...
Yeah, so I think the best way to explain it is that...
Good. Let's break it down for me.
If you use an analogy like a house, because, Kiwis love houses. So
and I understand houses.
Interior designer. Okay, so let's talk houses. If you were to sell your house right now, you could go to a real estate agent and say, I want to sell my house.
Yep.
As is, whereas, by that I mean it's not broken, but maybe you haven't decluttered and you haven't,
And we all know... That is not that can obviously be easy, but then you might get more money if you decluttered or you did the restyling or did the bathroom up.
Correct.
You might put $30,000 into a bathroom, and then you may be able to put $100,000 on the final price or something like that.
Exactly. So that's the same with a business. So
right.
As I said in our episode with Premilla. If a client says to me, look, I'd like to put my business on the market.
So would they talk to you as an accountant or would they talk to Premilla?
Well, both actually. So they might say to me, look, we're looking at putting it on the market. Mm-hmm. What do you think it's worth? Or do you have anyone that you could recommend as a business broker?
Right.
So then we would recommend someone like Premilla.
Is that how you know her or how you came in contact with her? Is it through people selling businesses?
No, actually, it was through our mutual dogs.
Okay, well,
I was at a coffee shop.
That's not what I was expecting.
And my little cavoodle Freddie went up to her wee dog and started talking, as dogs do,
Yeah.
and then we got chatting.
Talking
and
about brokering and accounting.
That's right.
Accounting, of course.
That's because Freddie hangs out at the office every day. That's how we met, at a coffee shop.
And I
Through our
suppose,
dogs.
a lot, and from what she was saying, a lot of her work comes from referrals. And she also said off the record when I was talking to her, she was saying she's sold businesses a few times.
Yes.
So that's another
I
interesting
think,
thing.
again, it's like selling a house, isn't it? Because if you've had a good relationship with somebody and they've worked well in your favour, and I think the difference with her is that she is authentic and genuine, and she really puts her heart and soul into it and is acting in the best interests of you, then you will use her again when it comes to your time to sell.
It's quite like she said, it's quite a personal thing to sell, especially a business that you've created, you've run, you've worked.
Well, it's like your wee baby,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You put your heart and
then
soul into.
To sell it, it must be quite, it's like selling a house. So I think that's a really good analogy, that you've got so much invested when it's your own business, and I guess you need that person who's going to be straight up with you, honest with you.
Correct.
Like she talked a lot about normalising the accounts. Ooh,
Yes.
Is that a technical term?
Yes, and it actually is. So what normalising the accounts means is that when you have a set of accounts, obviously you'd be putting all your cash through the accounts, right? And if you're not, you should be.
Right.
Because if you're not, it's going to make your business worth less as a starter, despite the fact that you've got IRD issues, etc. But you wouldn't be putting enough revenue through income because you're taking the cash. So that's an issue.
Right.
The second one is that by normalising, what it does is it makes it what a normal business owner the cost that they would incur. So, for instance, if you had borrowed money to purchase the business, then and you get to claim the interest as a deductible expense, you would pull that out to normalise it because the next owner may not need to borrow money.
Right.
That's not essential.
It's like
to the
stripping them back.
Anything that's not essential to the running of the business. It could be that you've got a really expensive motor vehicle in there and that will be taken out of the business because it has nothing to do with...
And they're not going to take on the really expensive motor vehicle.
Yes,
Yep.
correct. And you'd pull out those expensive motor vehicle expenses. There could be also normalising with salaries and wages. So it happens when business owners aren't taking enough out of the business,
Right.
and not paying themselves the market rate.
They've got to adjust that.
Correct, to market rate. Or the reverse, where they are actually taking the exponential salary.
So they've got to bring it back.
To a normal salary. So it's not what you would earn in the business. It would be like if you had to replace a person or yourself to do that
That's
role.
so interesting because I know, well, for myself, who, I work for myself, I've got my own business. A lot of the money that I make goes back into the business.
Yes.
So it doesn't go, I don't often take a salary, but I would
Yeah, so you may not be taking enough to normalise it. So what you would do is work out what a market rate salary would be for somebody in your role to run the business.
Okay, gotcha.
Would be. And then, so they'd pull out whatever you're getting and add back in a commercial rate.
This might be a silly question.
No silly questions.
But would it be a good exercise to normalise your accounts, even if you're not selling your business?
Well, you could get a gauge. We don't often do that.
No,
but
I was going to say that.
But if you want to sort of get a gauge on where the value of your business is.
Maybe if you were thinking about it. Right. And who would you go to for that? Would you go to your accountant?
Yes, you could. But it might be one of those things that you're thinking about doing. So you ask your accountant to prepare it to see where they see the value sitting to get a gauge. And then it could be that, I still need to spend maybe a couple of years or a year or so just tidying these up, focusing more on the business. Maybe.
And do you advise on that as the accountant?
Well, we could, as well as sitting down with the client and saying, okay, you could sell it now we think it's roughly this price. Equally, you could take it to someone like Premilla to get an appraisal, just like you would on a house, and say, look, could you come over, have a look at my house and just give me a gauge of where that sits.
So, if we're keeping with the house scenario, to sell a house, you kind of have in the back of your mind what
Roughly
what it's worth, and you've got tools that you can look up. So you can go to a website and see what's sold. Is there a similar thing for businesses?
It's a little bit more complex.
Yeah,
because there's a few more variables involved. There's none that I'm aware of that you can go in and just...
Do you have to find a like business? I suppose
Yes,
you would.
because then there's also a multiple. So once you get it to a normalised, there's 3 different ways to value a business, and you can get your accountant to do it. Mm-hmm. You can just sell it through your accountant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you don't even need to go to the broker if you don't want to. Just remember though, if you did that, your accountant may not have the database like Harcourts do, for instance.
The people.
And that's what they do day in, day out. And they know they're in the market. They know who's out there looking. Mm-hmm. And equally, they've got people that are ringing up and saying, hey, I'm in the market. I'd like to buy a business. I want to get into hospitality or whatever. And, if something comes up, let me know.
Yeah.
So...
and I find it fascinating, like I said before about she's selling the business as such, but she's also can be selling the physical part of the business, which is the building. I thought it would be a separate thing. I thought you'd probably, but then I guess it goes hand in hand. Hand
in hand, but it can be separate. So generally speaking, and it's not always the case, it could be a trust, for instance, that owns, so that the business owner might have a trust that owns the building.
Right.
And then the business pays it should be market rate rental to the trust.
Yep.
Now, the other thing when you're selling a business, because one of the first things you look at is the lease and how long you've got on the lease. Because if you're looking at purchasing the business, you've only got 2 months left on the lease.
Right.
What happens
when those 2 months are up?
Correct. Yeah. So that's quite
or if I was buying the business and the previous owner had a trust on the building, I could potentially pay the rent to the trust.
Correct. So you'd want to negotiate that as well.
Yes.
If the lease wasn't long enough. It might be long enough and it's fine.
It might be covered.
And then, generally speaking, it should be a market rate rental that they're paying anyway, because it should be an arm's length transaction. Because
what does that mean?
Okay, so that's associated person. So, Alex, you have got an interior design business in a building that your family trust owns, for instance, and your Alex Fulton
Design
leases it from your trust,
right?
But then you want to sell your business, So what it means is that a market rate, an arm's length transaction should be that you are paying what the market rate is. So you're not paying an exorbitant amount of rent, but equally you're not paying a small amount, like $100 a week, for instance.
So arm's length kind of means...
Arm's length means that if it was a third party, it's the same as what you would charge the person at arm's length, the third party.
You're putting out your arm.
I'm putting out my arm to block you.
Yeah, that's okay. I need to probably mull over that one. That one's quite confusing.
Yeah, so
I sort of get what you're saying. So you're saying that it's like when we're saying when you normalise the accounts, you're sort of putting a dollar value on your worth. So
I should have actually said at the start, regardless of whether you're selling your business or not, it should be an arm's length transaction. So that means that your business is renting it from your trust because you're all the same person effectively.
Yeah. It still needs to be at
market rate. Yes. So if you were to put it on the market and rent it out, what you're renting it for should be the same as what Joe Bloggs coming in would rent it for as well.
I wonder how many times we're going to say Joe Bloggs. Have we said it before?
Should we come up with someone else?
Yeah. Josephine Bloggette. I don't know. I found, that whole thing is really interesting. She also talked about mentoring, which I always find really interesting in business.
Yes.
I think we can always use a mentor, but then I do find that there's a time that we can mentor as well. And, like Premilla, she said she'd been in business for 21 years. And so her knowledge and her ability to mentor is really important. But even though she's been in business that long, she still sees the value in having a mentor?
I think mentors are definitely undervalued and underrated, because I think that not only, I mean, so many of us work in silos and we're working on our own and not necessarily have a team around us. Premilla's fortunate in having the Harcourts brand to support her. But I think, and it can be, you can have multiple coaches or mentors, because you might have one that's industry specific. So, Alex, you might have one that is another interior designer.
Yep.
Equally, you could mentor somebody in interior design.
Yeah.
But then to have somebody more on the financial side, your accountant, that might be talking about sort of at a different level.
Absolutely. Like my accountant quite often gives me advice, whether I want it or not.
Yeah.
He definitely mentors, because, you know, like we talked about when, you know, you and I had a wee chat, and, you know, I'm a creative, and I do, you know, I'm in a creative industry, and part of running my own business, if I'm not prepared to get advice, you know, learn industries that I'm not involved in, I remember my accountant saying to me, if if you are not prepared to learn about accounts receivable, accounts payable, you know, budgeting, then go and work for someone. And I always think about that. And when I'm asked to you know, mentor people, I will say that, like, if you want to go into business on your own, be prepared to learn X, Y, Z, because you can't run a business without those things. And it's particularly, you know, if you're in a creative industry, it's not your
forte.
It's not your forte. But if you're going to be in your own business, you're going to make it your forte.
And I say to so many people that go into business that you've gone into business because you're good at what you do. Then all of a sudden you've fallen into this area of, now I have to understand the boring stuff, the numbers. But the numbers tell so much.
Oh, this is where you're going to get really excited
There's
about
different
numbers.
levers in the business that you can pull to make it do different things, but to understand what those levers are and to understand what the numbers are actually telling you, to understand the difference between cash and profit, you know, all those little fundamentals that we are not taught at school at all. And I think that even if you went and did an interior design course, or you did...
We should be doing a business paper or how to run your own, you know, sole agency or whatever it is. But
it's so easy to set up business in New Zealand. All you have to do is either start or go and set up a company and go for it. There's no other requirements.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
Very crazy. Yeah, very crazy, because a lot of businesses, and there are genuine reasons why businesses fail, and we've got a lot at the moment in terms of liquidations.
Like what is the percent? Like, I'm sure you've told me before about what percentage of businesses fail.
Yes, I don't know what the
numbers
numbers
are. Not to be negative, Nelly.
No, I'm not sure what the numbers are at the moment, but they were relatively high. I think in New Zealand there was, I'd have to double check what the latest ones are, but and a lot of that does have to do with the economy as well, with things not doing near as well as what they previously have. But to understand those numbers and understand the difference, and I think between cash and profit as well, understanding those two concepts, a lot of business owners don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of glazing over a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sort of work it out, like cash and profit. I can, but yeah, that might be something we could deep dive on.
I think so, because that's a great one, because I think there's a lot there in that one. Especially when you say to clients, you've got X amount of tax to pay, and they go, but I haven't got that in my bank account. How am I going to pay that? So understanding, you know, the difference and how that came about is important as well.
And you don't necessarily have to be accountant level knowledge. Like, you can leave it to the accountant.
Yeah.
But I think just having enough information, and like listening to a podcast called
The Accountology Show.
Accountology Show, that might help.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to your question before, and I mentioned about, I quite often say to clients, it can take 2 years to groom your business to get it ready for sale, right?
So when you say groom, that sounds a bit creepy, but is that the same as normalising?
No, so grooming the business for sale is getting your house, starting to style it, declutter
preparing accounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So making sure your accounts are tidy and in order and all up to date. making sure that you've got systems and processes in place.
That would scare me.
Making sure that, well, and the other thing is, a lot of businesses are centred around the owner. So if you're not there, you need to start weaning yourself out of the business, because the business needs to be able to run without you in it.
Yeah.
And if it can't, and you sell the business...
But it's even things like, my business is my name. Like, that's quite common, isn't it?
Yes.
Especially, I know a lot of interior designers who, their business is their name.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to sell my business, but, like, part of me, if I did want to sell my business, would be maybe changing the name of it, and that might be part of the groom.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, and that could take a couple of years to, brand awareness again, to get your name out
there. Understand that is now that.
Yes, correct. Or it could be, mergers and acquisitions. It could be somebody coming in and wanting to, take over your business, join it, because maybe it's the database they're interested in.
Right.
Maybe you've got a really strong database.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
There's value in that.
Yeah, like an Instagram page, like how many followers you have.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So interesting.
Yes. So that whole grooming thing can take a while. I mean, equally, you can sell your house as, it's
as is like
now,
about.
ready to go. But you may not get as much for it if you spent a couple of years getting it ready, getting the accounts in order, your systems and processes in order, pulling yourself out of the business, and then allowing the business to operate and function without you in it.
And seeing your business through different eyes. So, like talking to a business broker or talking to your accountant, who can kind of strip back all the personalised things you have with your business,
Correct.
like how you feel. They can sort of look at it a little bit more
or logically.
Logically. That's what
and
I'm
it may be
say.
your solicitor as well, to understand, okay, if I was going to sell my business and I untwine everything, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because, like we said, it could mean that you've got a property associated with it, because you've got a commercial property that you're operating out of. How does that work?
There must
and what
be
do
a
you
lot
want to
of
do with it?
idiosyncrasies around each business must have, and that's what you're saying. You strip those back and you normalise.
Correct.
You normalise your accounts, and you normalise so that it's kind of bundled up in a nice package and ready to sell.
Exactly. Bingo. You got it.
God,
but there's also emotion attached to it as well. So I think that, our role and a business broker's role as well will have a certain amount of counselling attached to it.
Like she said, like Premilla said, yeah.
Because there's normally a story, an emotional story, as to why they're selling. It could be burnout, it could be sickness, it could be...
anything.
You could be just at that next stage of life and wanting to do something different.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think that must be, like selling a house. You don't just, take the listing and off you go and sell the house. Like, it's really anything with sales, it's good having an understanding of the history of the house or how it came about. Like, that must be just as important when you're selling a business as having background and knowing the points that are going to make someone want to buy it.
Correct. And someone like a business broker will be able to see that. They might be able to see some of the pitfalls with the business that, okay, a potential purchaser is going to struggle because of this part of the business. And it may be, or finance.
Or they might have, like she said, a few people she must be thinking all the time, ooh, this person has expressed interest in maybe a business like this.
Yes.
But to get that business ready for someone like that person, you need to do X, Y, and Z.
So they will get it ready sort of generically. So, anyone can come in, assuming they've got the skill set to be able to run it. But definitely having someone like a business broker on board, or someone that can support you through that journey, is gold.
Yeah.
Absolute gold.
Well, I have learnt that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting your business ready. So there's lots of little nuggets of gold in there. And I think the other aspect would be understanding from the likes of Premilla, an expert in business broking, what it is that you need to do to get your business ready to go.
So that could be a whole nother topic. And a whole nother mind expander. Yep.
And if
Great.
anyone's got questions out there that they'd like us to ask, then just DM us or send us those questions through.
Great. Oh, thanks again, Nicole. A wealth of knowledge.
Well, it's been fun. It's been good to be able to debrief over those conversations, and there was a lot more that we could deep dive into.
And I'm sure we will.
Fantastic.
I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for joining us on the Accountology Show. If you have enjoyed today's show, you're in luck because we'll be back next week. You'll find past episodes at plainsfm.org.nz and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to never miss an episode. We would love it if you would leave a 5-star review and tell a friend or business owner who would benefit from hearing our show. We also love hearing from you, so reach out with any comments or a topic you'd like covered, and even suggestions for whom we should get in the studio next for an interview. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn and TikTok. Our handle is NH Plus Associates, that's NHPLUS Associates, or email me, nicole@nh-a.co.nz. But most importantly, thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. Until next time, keep building that business into the empire it absolutely deserves to be.